Hey, Exercise Confidence listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Today we are completing our episode with Raena Ramirez. We are so happy that Raena came back. And just to give you a little refresher on Raena's story, Raena is currently pursuing her master's in sports psychology from Cal State University Long Beach. She also has her bachelor's in psychology from University of California, Irvine, where she was an NCAA Division I, a track and field athlete. Raena has a passion for soccer and a passion for serving her community. And we're going to talk about how confidence really helps you move forward with your passions in life, especially on those days when you have to pull your own confidence from within yourself and you just don't feel like you have it in you. So here we go, episode 4, finishing up our interview with Raena Ramirez on Exercise Confidence. Hey, Exercise Confidence followers, thank you so much for tuning in. We are finally redoing our interview with Raena Ramirez. Raena, thank you so much for being back.
Of course. Always a pleasure.
We love Raena. So, if you listened to Raena's first part of her podcast, you got a little background about her athletics career mostly. We kind of ended on transitioning, talking about her soccer career and where that kind of led to once she got into college. And we're probably going to just start picking it from there and dive more into talking about her personal confidence.
Yeah.
Ready, Raena?
Of course. Left on a cliffhanger. We're back
I know. Thank you so much for tuning into part 2. So, Raena, go ahead and tell me how you were able to continue being so confident in a new sport, if you will, when you got into college. You were already a little bit, quote-unquote, older.
Yeah, I was really, really nervous, and it probably was the biggest knock to my confidence that I've had in a while, because I really pride myself, like even to this day, on my soccer skills. And I knew I was a bit rusty, but then I got to that first tryout, and I was awful. Like, capital A, awful, and I hated it. I wanted to cry. Felt like I was going to throw up from running. It didn't even seem that hard. My touch was off. There's a girl who was there who was on my high school team, and she had seen me kind of at peak high school, and I went up to her afterwards to be like, be honest with me, was that awful? And she was kind of like, no, like, you were good, it's fine, why are you freaking out? But I just left there totally ready to never come back. Like, okay, that was it. My soccer career is done.
Dang.
Like, I'm over. Who am I if I'm not a soccer player? So it really was like such a huge hit to my confidence, because it felt like part of my identity was just gone.
Right.
Like, there's nothing I could do to get it back.
Yeah.
Which was really hard and sad and took a lot of soul searching. But I basically just had to reevaluate my values, reevaluate myself outside of being an athlete, decide if soccer was something that did, like, still mean the same thing that it meant to me before. Because I think I just didn't realize that I could enjoy soccer and not be the best at it, or, like, not be that level that I was at. It's totally fine.
Yeah, and that's hard to reconcile, I'm assuming, especially, I know I'm super competitive, and if I'm not the best, why am I doing it, you know?
Yes, I'm very much like that.
Yeah, so you brought up identity a couple times, and I want to talk about that because I think so often we place our identity in things that there's something that can be taken away from us.
Yes.
I know for a long time I placed my identity and I was a softball player and I was going to play in college, much like you felt with soccer. And how important do you think having a stable identity is to having a stable sense of confidence?
I think it's very important, but we need to realize that these things change. Different points in our life bring different things. So, especially being an athlete, and I'm sure you can relate to this, like, it does just become your whole life, and it's your biggest identity for, like, middle school through high school, you know? That's all that you are, it's all that you do. And when you're in that moment, it doesn't seem like you'll ever be out of it, you know? Like,
right.
You can kind of see yourself as an 80-year-old, like, still, like, coaching or helping your kids or whatever.
Right.
And then you get to this point in your life where you kind of make different decisions, or you're chasing different avenues, and you kind of have to leave that part behind. And for athletes in particular, it is very hard. It's a tough transition, even for professionals to make. This is some sports psychology coming out right now, but it's huge. And being an athlete is such a big part of every athlete's identity. And we just have to realize it's okay if that changes. Our identities will change as we grow up. I'm not the same, 5-year-old who really wanted to be, a lawyer astronaut. I've changed, and my values have changed.
Right.
And it sucks, but it's okay.
I think that's something that you don't really ever get taught or realize when you're young, is that your identity is going to change. And it surrounds us in ways that we don't even realize. Our moms weren't moms until they became moms.
Yes.
Their identity changed when they had a kid.
Yes.
And it's things like that. And it's you weren't a college student until you became a college student, and now that's part of your identity.
Yeah.
And same thing with your master's program. She mentioned sports psychology, and just to refresh your memory, Raena has her bachelor's in psychology from UCI. She is currently a master's candidate at Cal State University Long Beach. She has a background in sports. She's grown up playing soccer her whole life. She was an NCAA Division I scholarship athlete at UCI for track and field. She's on the club team again with Cal State Long Beach, like we mentioned. And she is also a four-time Miss America local title holder, and she's going back to Miss California for her 4th time this summer.
Yes.
So identity can change a lot, people.
Oh, for sure.
But sometimes you take on the same identity, like Raena did, because she was Miss Garden Grove in 2016, and she is currently Miss Garden Grove again. So let's dive into that world and what kind of confidence it must have taken to try to conquer an arena you were already the top of.
Again, I had to reevaluate why I was in this system, why I was in the Miss America organization, because I did take a year off. I held 3 titles. I had a lot of fun with them, and I decided I just kind of needed a break. I knew I wanted to study abroad. I knew that was going to conflict with Miss California, and so I had to make a decision. And I wasn't sure if I was going to come back. And so when I first kind of started thinking about maybe doing Garden Grove again, it was because I was at Long Beach, and so I was finally qualified for Miss Garden Grove. And I wasn't sure. I wasn't positive, even when I went to, orientation, that I wanted to do it.
Right.
And I had to, bounce it off of my parents. I bounced it off of my boyfriend. I bounced it off of you and the girls. Just kind of saying, should I go back? And I had a lot of reasons to not. The Miss Garden Grove organization is amazing, and it's a really great organization for new girls to be introduced into the Miss California system.
Right.
And they take really good care of the girls. They really teach you, and that's what they did for me when I started off. And I felt what if I'm taking the chance away from the next Raena, the next girl who wants to do this? And everybody just the points just kept coming back to, do you want to do it? Is it what you want to do? All my factors to not do it kind of involved other people.
Right.
And the factors that I wanted to do it, I missed serving the city, and Garden Grove keeps you busy. I missed Garden Grove.
Yeah.
It was the best community that I've served. The people are amazing. The town's amazing. I've never had a bad experience with them. And I missed being a local title holder. I think we talked about this last time, but I had to evaluate if I was doing it to be Miss California, and I think the bottom line was I'm not. Again, I would take it. It would be great. That'd be awesome.
Of course.
But that just wasn't my end goal
Right.
with this. I wanted to come back to be a local title holder. And it was scary. There's a lot of pressure to okay, well, if I compete and I lose, that's pretty embarrassing. But I just thought, why not go for it? That's kind of been my philosophy on life. If I want to do it, I'll just go for it.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I did. I'm having a great time with it. I've really missed this, and I am excited to go back to Miss California.
Now, there have been some changes in the Miss America organization lately, and am I correct in saying that you will be competing for the first time at state in the new format?
Yes, so Miss Garden Grove this round was the new format.
Okay.
So there was no swimsuit, but the Miss California organization takes it to a whole another level.
Right.
And they have another level of competition that I've not even seen because I didn't watch Miss California last year. So it does just kind of feel like I'm starting over, which is really weird.
As somebody who has competed already and has the knowledge of being at a state competition, but also is coming into the new format, where does your confidence set right now? Like, is it a little higher than normal? Do you feel a little back to baseline?
I would say I am still just, like, right in the middle. I have more confidence because I do feel seasoned. Like, even the way that I see new girls treating me, I do feel like is a bit of, like, oh, she's an old...
Bringing the old horse out for one more race.
Dog is coming out, learning some new tricks. So there's a bit of, like, I do feel like I'm stepping into a new arena, but a lot of the system is the same. I love the system. I'm a very good talker, and it's just become even more talking, so I am excited about it. So I would say, like, middle to still fairly confident. Like, it's not scaring me.
Good. That's good. In these moments when you have to present yourself, whether it's speaking in front of an interview panel at a competition or speaking with the community, is it easy to be authentic and vulnerable and transparent, or do you kind of have to put on more of a fake confidence face? You know, when you're upholding this title, it's more than just yourself. You've been given an opportunity to represent a brand, essentially.
I kind of take that in stride with organizations that I've been part of my whole life. So, like, whenever you're on a sport team, they always tell you, especially on, like, for a school, you're representing the school, you gotta remember, like, anything you do is representation of the school. I was on, like, ASB, so it was always like, oh, well, student council has to set this example, which I've always very much respected, and I like to think of myself as a leader. I like to think of myself as, like, kind of propelling, following rules, so I want to lead by example. So I'm not really thrown off by having to represent something. I really try to be genuine, and I think that comes across the best with judges or just with other people. People can tell when you're being fake, and I can tell when people are being fake, so I try to be as genuine and transparent as possible.
Being a leader and being somebody who finds himself in leadership positions, like you mentioned, do you have any tips for somebody that either wants to be a leader or maybe finds themselves in leadership positions and they kind of are like, why does this keep happening to me?
I would just say step up, you know. If you're like, oh, I want to be a leader on this, I want to be able to do this, it's typically because there's a hole to fill. There's something that you see that's not being fulfilled that you think you can do better, or that you can do in a way that would be a great example for others. So I think that if you want that position, show yourself and others that you deserve that position. Start stepping up, start helping out at practice, start helping out during team meetings, start speaking up. I'm thinking very much sports, but I'm trying to think of examples.
And like you said, like, start speaking up, like, in meetings. That can be applicable to the workforce or any group you're a part of.
Yes. I just think, and if you find yourself being thrown into leadership positions, which is how I was at first, just embrace it. Unless you don't want it. If you don't want it, turn it down, because you're not gonna want it.
You're not gonna enjoy it.
And not everybody does, which is fine. You just have to figure that out. But if you find yourself kind of constantly being pushed into this leadership position and it always falls on you, embrace it.
Yeah.
And maybe do some soul searching. Find out why, like, what is it that people are drawn to about you, or what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and just work through it. I say no matter what, either step up to fill that position or embrace it, because clearly they want you.
So how do you step up then? Like, what are ways in which do you have any examples, or do you kind of have like a mantra that helps you step up when you don't really feel like doing it?
So there is one thing that I do sometimes is when I feel very low, or when I feel like I kind of want to take over, like, maybe a group project, or there's a big responsibility coming up within my program, and I want to, like, go to my professors and say, I deserve this.
Right.
And if I'm nervous, I always, like, look in my mirror, my bedroom, like, whether it be in my car or bathroom, and I just take a few moments to, like, make eye contact with myself and just be like, you got this. Like, you deserve this.
Right.
You're great. You're energetic. You're talkative. You've worked for this. You've done your research. Like, you got this, and then I'll
Yeah.
walk out, and it feels crazy, but it really does help. It's just like a little prep talk for myself.
Yeah, and it's not crazy. I mean, I do that. I've had to do that before when I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And you catch a glimpse of yourself maybe in the mirror, and maybe your posture is a little sulking, or you can see your face is a little downtrodden, and then you have to remind yourself, like, no, we're going to pull our shoulders back, we're going to take a deep breath, we're going to keep that chin up,
Yeah.
and we're going to go.
Well, one of the big things for pageants is talent for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get so nervous before talent that it used to just, like, I would walk off stage crying. I'm pretty sure I've cried to you about it before.
Yes.
It's been bad. So one of the big things coming back to pageants is I wanted to try and really focus on my confidence in talent. I dance. Don't dance super great, but
friends, she flips during her dancing, and it is so cool. Like, and I think that is, side note, I think that is something that is so wonderful about the Miss America organization, is the talent component, because it really, there are so many things you would never even think you'd see on a stage. There's, you know,
speed painting.
Yes, there's speed painting, there's dancing, there's acrobatic flipping, there is
magic,
there's rapping, there's singing, monologues, there's STEM demonstrations.
Yeah.
Like, it's astounding the way that they allow women to embrace various forms of talent.
Mm-hmm.
That is really resonates with them.
Yes, I do.
And to be confident in it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And I do think, like I said, I can talk, but, like, talent is difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I competed for Miss Garden Grove the second time around, I really wanted to tackle talent. Like, I really wanted to come out there and show that I had grown within, like, the 1 month that I had prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally went into the bathroom right before I went on stage, and I talked to myself in that bathroom mirror, and I was like, you're a dancer. Like, you got this. You have rhythm. You're gonna not forget anything. Like, you're gonna drop into the splits, and it's gonna be amazing. And I walked out there, and I won the talent. Like, I won the talent. Not prelim. What do we call it at local levels?
Top or highest talent
yes,
score?
highest talent score.
Yeah,
Thank
award.
you. I was making it more complicated. But
okay.
I was, like, that's probably one of the things that I'm most proud about in everything, because it was my worst area and the area that I always look forward to the least.
Right. I get that. There are definitely times that you look at yourself and you go, it's you and me, bud.
Yeah.
And that's all we got.
What it is.
You know? But I think there's also something that is so special about that, because there are those times when it's only you and you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can seem a little daunting or a little overwhelming or lonely even.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe that in those moments, we get to define the story. You know, we define, are we going to take this moment and allow it to crush us, or are we going to crush it?
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And a lot of it definitely plays into, like, I think how honest with ourselves we are in recognizing strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, do you have a biggest strength that plays into your confidence?
Ooh. It sounds kind of weird, because it's definitely not true in all respects, but, like, I just think I'm fearless when it comes to a lot of situations.
Oh, okay.
Like, that makes me sound very cool.
She's fearless, watch out.
I'm, like, super fearless. No, I just think in that, I mean, I don't really care too much about what people think. I'm not going to say I don't, because to a certain extent of me does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of situations, like, especially, like, private interview.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to know how I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one is truly going to know except me and the judges. So why am I going to put pressure on myself feeling like I need to, like, do this? I'm not trying to impress anyone but myself in there, you know?
Mm.
So I can just kind of go into those situations and forget about any pressure to, like, impress anybody else.
Right.
And I think I don't know, I'm just not afraid to be silly or to make a fool of myself in those kinds of situations.
Being fearless, do you feel like you have any big weaknesses that hinder your confidence?
My biggest enemy is myself. I get into my own head, and I hold myself to a certain level that I don't even think is a fair level a lot of the time.
Right.
Like, I'm holding myself to a very, very high standard, and when I even miss that a little bit, it just feels like I've flunked it. You know, I walked out of that Miss Garden Grove interview being like, I don't know, like, at first I was feeling great.
Right.
And then the more I sat on it, the more I thought about my answers, the more I thought about the better answers that I could have given.
Always.
And the more I was like, wow, that might have been my worst one ever. Like, I think my mom kind of saw as I was talking to her, my confidence just, like, going down as I was explaining it to her.
Right.
And she was like, it sounded so good in the beginning. I was like, yeah, I thought so too. So I think my biggest weakness is I get into my own head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am my biggest roadblock. And it can be hard. I think being in the psychology field has helped me, like, learn techniques for that. It's hard to evaluate yourself all the time. I've tried to grow more reflective in that process, but it's still something that I'm working on.
For people who aren't in the psychology field and maybe don't have that advantage at their fingertips, what outside of that helps you get that confidence back after you feel like you've kind of beat yourself up or you haven't hit the mark that you thought you should have? Because I think we all do that to ourselves, but we definitely need some help getting back out of that.
A big thing that has helped me has been rearranging my self-talk. So like you said, a lot of this comes from negative self-talk, from saying like, oh, this sucks, or I sucked at that, and I don't want to do this anymore. A lot of that kind of thoughts in your own head. What's helped me is imagining me saying any of those things to a friend. Like, I would never, I look in the mirror and sometimes I hate my body, you know? I have those days, we all have those days.
She is hot, ladies and gentlemen, for the record.
But there are days where I look and, like, I just can't stand the sight of my stomach. Like, I feel like I have wrinkles everywhere. My arms could, like, fly me away with the chicken flat. Like, it's crazy.
No,
But then I think, like, would I ever point out any of this on a friend? Would I ever notice this on a friend? Would I ever say any of the things that I'm telling myself to a friend? And it's, no.
Right.
Like, I would never say that to anyone else. Why am I being so mean to myself? If I wouldn't be this mean to someone else, why am I being this mean to myself? And it helps you reevaluate that self-talk. And a big thing that I try to do is if I notice myself getting in a really negative funk, I try and combat any negative self-talk with a really positive one. So, like, if it's body image and I'm having a really bad day, or I might be thinking in my head, like, oh, my hair looks awful. Everybody's thinking about how awful my hair is, and look at that fly away, whatever. And then I kind of realize that I'm having that, because a lot of the time you don't even know. Like, you don't even realize that you're thinking so negatively.
I know.
Once you tune into that, I'll go, oh, but you know what? Like, my teeth look banging today. They are sparkling. Somebody complimented me on my smile. Like, let me focus on that. And then negative self-talk. Oh, you know what? This outfit? Hot. I don't care what anybody says. I put this outfit together. I saw it on Instagram. I made it happen. Like, it's great.
Yes. Yeah, like owning it.
Yeah. You just, I mean, everybody gets into their own head. Everybody has negative thoughts. It's just a matter of reframing those thoughts as best you can. And if you want, like, you can probably go online and look up reframing negative self-talk. And a lot more tips would come up on different ways that you can try and change those negative thoughts into more positive ones.
That is, like, such a good advice. And, no, I don't know if I've ever heard the idea of, would you say that to your friend?
Yeah.
You know, how you're talking to yourself. Would you ever talk about that to your friend? Because all too often, we want and we, like, almost crave to be our friend's biggest cheerleaders.
Yes.
Because we know how awful we can be to ourselves. Or we see the way our friends talk about themselves. And we're like, no, cutting that out right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you do that to yourself? You're supposed to be your own best friend. You spend the most time with yourself.
Exactly.
You will never spend more time with anybody else.
You gotta love yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like I said, everybody goes through it. I'm in a bad funk, like, currently, that I'm trying to get out of. But hanging out with friends helps. Talking with my boyfriend helps. Looking at myself in the mirror and talking to myself helps. Like,
it sounds cliche, but it does. And I will have a moment of, like, honesty right now. I weigh the most I've ever weighed in my life, and it is not because I am super buff. Like, literally, I've just been letting everything else come first. And it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, there's, like, leftover pizza in the fridge. or like, you know what, like that pasta from a couple days ago is fine, or even skipping food, like it is still not good for your body. And I've had to be like, wow, this is awful. I don't like the way I look, and everything gets so tight, and my clothes, and guess what, I don't have money to buy new pants that are bigger. But I have to frame that mindset differently, because it's like, I play rugby. Yeah. And I'm running around that field. And sure, after 80 minutes of straight running, I'm gassed. Let's be honest. But, like, I did it. I can do it. Yeah. I go to my doctor. I wouldn't be tired. Well, no. But, and then it's like, and I go to my doctors, and I have my physical, and they're like, you're healthy. And I'm like, but I'm fat. And they're like, yeah, but your blood work is great. Your blood pressure is good. Are you exercising? Yes, I'm exercising. Okay, so you put on weight. Like, you're getting old. It happens. Exactly. And it's like that thing. And so it sounds cliche, but, like, literally, I have to look at myself. Yeah. Just as I am, and be like, still got it. Yes. Yes, but that's just it. Like, I have a very similar thing with losing my athletic body. Yes. So I don't... Yep. It's hard to explain, because I do feel like it sounds a bit vain, but, like, I was very muscular, and I was very proud of that. Like, that was my thing. Muscular, athletic, Raena. Like, always loved it. And it's gotten to the point right now where I'm still active, but not nearly as much. And especially because I don't have to be. Like, I don't have practices to go to. Don't have weight room to, like, train for. Yeah. So it's a lot harder to get that, like, drive to just go to the gym. So my body is changing, and it's not necessarily bad, but for me, it's bad. You know, for me, it's not like... It's different. Yes! And you're not used to it. Exactly. And that's what I have to tell myself. It's not bad, it's different. Right. And the thing for me is, like, I've always been, quote-unquote, bigger. And it was always because I was muscular. Growing up as a kid, I hit my growth spurt early. I was super into athletics. And I was a catcher. Yeah. So squatting all the time, my thighs were massive. But I embraced it, and I loved it. And then, you know, when we both did swimsuit at Miss California, I love the photos where my quad is just popping, you know, and my shoulder is cut. Yes. And then now it's like, yeah, my thighs are big and my shoulders are big, but it's different. Yeah. It's almost soft. It's like a feminine soft. And I was like, no, I want to be a hard body. I'm an ass. But it was one of those things, I think it's so easy for us, especially as women, to just not want to embrace. Yes. Like, no, I don't want to have that feminine softness. I want to be Victoria's Secret model hard. Like, yes. You know. I want my abs. But, like, even to, you know, this is something that I'm still trying to, like, get over and adjust to and be kind to myself about. Yeah. But even just today when I saw you and you're like, oh, you look thin, like, that made my whole life, because I've been convinced for the past 2 weeks that I'm getting heavier and that I'm getting bigger and that I'm completely, like, a different body. And you do look different, because, like you said, like, I know you from all different facets. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this woman could have won an IFBB body physique competition like nobody's business. But now she looks like Victoria's Secret model slender. Like, she looks lean, and it's just different. It is, yes, exactly. I'm still adjusting, and like I said, struggling. But it is just that mindset of, it's not bad, it's different. Yes. And it's going to continue to change, like, throughout our entire lives. Our bodies are not going to look the same. Our thoughts are not going to be the same. Our identities are going to change. Like, change is inevitable. So here's a question that I have, because I know I experienced this, and I don't know if you have. You kind of mentioned it when you said the first time you came back to soccer in the master's program with the club sports team at Long Beach State. After the practice, you were like, oh, you felt like you're going to throw up from all the running and stuff. After I haven't been as intense or diligent in my workouts, and I kind of come back to it, like, after the holidays or what have you, after, like, a hard week of, like, exams at school, and I get back into working out, whether I take a class or I go running, and I get gassed, and I feel like I'm going to throw up, and I get mad at myself. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why didn't you just stay diligent to working out? Like, you could have carved out an hour to go on and run. Yes. And it makes me sad after the fact when I realize the way I'm talking to myself, because once I'm actually done working out, I feel so good. Yeah. Like, my endorphins are up. Like, you know, when I'm done at practice, like with rugby, like, I have all this energy, and I'm, like, rearing to go, and I'm like, let's go see a movie, or, like, let's go walk down by the beach or something. And he's like, didn't you just have practice for like 2.5 hours and like run Henny Moeller like diagonals across the field? And I'm like, yes, but I feel good because exercise makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I hate that, like, it's like almost like a cognitive like dissonance.
Yes.
Like, where it's like, I'm mad at myself because it's really hard, but after it's like all the endorphins are going and now I'm happy.
Yes. See, with working out, it's one of the easiest things to fall into this really hard, like, negative mindset because it is a bunch of prep work to even just start to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm the same way. I love being physically fit, but I have not been to the gym in, like, over a month. I went to the gym this morning for the first time.
We're very proud.
In a really long time, but it took a lot just to get out of the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very similar. As soon as I was in that class and I was, like, doing it with everybody around me, I was like, this is freaking great! Like, why did I ever not want this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the emotion you have to focus on. Like, when you think of working out, you think of, like, pain and sweat and just, like, dreading, like,
and
all
like,
of these feelings. Yeah. Exactly that emotion, actually.
That's it, one emotion. Mood. That's
exactly.
it.
And you just have to kind of push that out of your mind and focus on, I mean, this is just for exercising specifically, but
right.
Focus on that feeling you get that brings you that joy. So
right.
if you remember, like, remember that last practice I worked out and afterwards I had that great, like, time with my boyfriend or whatever. Like, if you're thinking about that instead of the, I'm gonna hate myself during it, like, this is gonna suck. Yeah. That might make it a bit easier.
Yeah, like you said, it right now pertains to, this is with exercise, but I really do think it's applicable to confidence because I think there are little things that we do. Maybe it's we tell a stranger a compliment.
Yeah.
Or maybe we decide to raise our hand for an answer in class. Or somebody kind of just asks a generic question and you're like, well, I have knowledge about that. Maybe I can answer that for them.
Yeah.
And those little things that when it's, well received and you feel good about it, I think those are like also like little workouts for our confidence.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think it's all just about finding what's right for you. Like, one of the things that I do when I feel really low is, like, a pass it on kind of thing. So, like, I'll go to Starbucks and I'll pay for the person behind me. Yeah. And I'll, like, walk away. And I don't want them to know and I don't want anything. But it feels nice, you know? Like, it does just feel good. It gives me a little bit of boost of, like, energy. Like, okay, today's been crappy, but I can move on from this. I made somebody else's day, hopefully. And then, at least in my mind. And I can move forward with it. And that's, like, a very easy, quick pick-me-up. That or, like, wine, but, to each their own.
Depends on the time of the day and where you're at.
That's who's around.
Right, and I love our friendship, and specifically us two, but as well as this, we have a very special group of girlfriends. And I think as time has begun progressing in our friendship, in our group specifically, we're all more comfortable being vulnerable with each other.
Definitely.
And I just kind of want to talk about how vulnerability also plays into having more confidence.
The first step towards anything is being vulnerable. Like, it's awful. I get it. I get why people don't want to do it. But it's the first step to really feeling free, really feeling comfortable, really feeling like you can be yourself. I've never had too much of a problem with that. I think just because my family is very, like, honest and open with each other. But it is something very beautiful when you can kind of feel at home with people because they know everything about you and you're not afraid to cry in front of them. You're not afraid to, like, fart in front of them. You're not, just, like, be yourself.
Yeah.
And that all starts with being vulnerable, which also starts with reflection. You have to understand yourself. I, in this master's course, have kind of been forced to do a lot more reflection than I have in my entire life, essentially. But it's really, it's just completely changed me as a person. Like, now I understand why I react to certain things the way I do. Or, like, now I notice the way that I'm thinking and I can change it because I've reflected. And now I can take that and go to my friends and say, hey, like, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm a bit, like, tense right now. I'm sorry. Like, I still love you guys. Like, which I've done quite a few times. Like, I remember talking to you guys about when I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and that was kind of a huge thing for me, but I wanted all my friends to know, because I felt it was important, one, that they know, like, if I'm not responding, or if, like, I make plans and then cancel, or, like, anything like that. It wasn't them. It's not you guys. It's 100% me not knowing how to, like, handle this. But
navigating new waters.
Yes.
Because even though, you know, depression and anxiety have been there, it wasn't recognized. Yes. And now it's the new normal. It's learning how to navigate with your diagnosis.
Exactly. And I want my friends to feel comfortable around me. I want my friends and family to, like, not have to tiptoe around me, or, oh, Raena seems off. Like, why is she acting like that? Now it's a very clear, like, I'm having a bad day. Like, I just need time to myself. I feel like everybody's really respected that so nicely. Like, I haven't run into a problem with a friend yet. Or my family, for that matter.
Right, and I was just going to take a moment to be like, as your friend, it is not anything that we're like, oh, we have to be careful around. It's like, great, she's part of the club now. Yeah. It's confirmed. We're all the same.
She got the diagnosis. We're ready.
I love that you're so comfortable, not only being vulnerable with me, but especially in our time right now, because I know for a fact what you're sharing is going to resonate with somebody. I just think it's really important that people recognize that confidence inside and out can also be entangled in a lot of other things, like depression, anxiety.
It just manifests itself in such different ways. You never really know. And I think no matter what, you can always spark a bit of confidence in yourself. You can always bring it out. Like, it's weird that I'm an outgoing, depressed person. Like, that doesn't sound like it goes together. But I just have horrible, horrible days or hours or moods, you know. This past week, I think there was, like, 2 days where I didn't get out of bed. Like, not once. Because I've been having a really hard time. I'm in a really low place. Like, it's been difficult. And yet, the other night, I went out and had, like, a girls' night, and tonight I'm over here with you, and I'm still trying to kind of get myself out of the funk, along with, like, seeking help and being open with my friends. Having, like, that support system always helps, but there's always a way. And, like, and you just never know. I try and treat everyone with kindness, because you don't know. Yes. I don't think anybody on the street would think that I'm struggling with the things that I'm struggling with.
Right. And I was going to mention that, like, if, for our listeners, if you, we'll go ahead and we'll put Raena's socials in the description, and you can go ahead and just, like, kind of scroll through her stuff. See her lavish lifestyle. She's a very blessed girl. But to see this woman, and even just following her on her stories and just the way that she interacts with the people that, you know, her followers and what have you, the first thing you're going to think is, like, wow, this girl's amazing. Like, look at her smile. Like, she's so outgoing. She just lives life to the fullest. You don't think that, I don't think with anybody that you look at, the first thing you ever think is, oh, like,
what are you struggling with?
Yeah, what are your struggles?
Yes.
You know, and I don't necessarily think that we judge people by, like, she smiles too much, she's hiding depression.
Yes.
You know? I think initially it's like we just see a strong sense of self and a lot of confidence, and it's attractive. Like, we get attracted towards these people because we want to emulate those qualities.
Definitely.
And at the same time, this person is a person.
Yes.
You know, they struggle with their own issues. They struggle with maybe family issues, maybe they have a health issue, maybe it's, you never know, but
everybody's going through their own battle. And I feel like that's, like, a cliche thing you see on Twitter or Tumblr or whatever, but it's true. And, like, 2 things I want to touch on. One, social media, for me, is a place where if I'm feeling low, I can still post something very positive and feel positive. You know, maybe that's not the most healthy coping mechanism, but, like, what you see on Instagram, what you see on social media is people putting their best foot forward.
Right.
It's everybody's,
it's everybody's highlight reel.
Exactly. So, like, you can't a lot of the time I feel like we do get stuck in, like, social media comparisons of, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, their Instagram's cool, and they're in, like, Paris, so, wow, they must be living a great life.
At Raena.
Not one time. Not 2 times. But yeah, it's very easy to, like, compare yourself and get lost there. And just be like, wow, they're doing all this with their life, and I'm not. And that's just not true. I just, take social media as what it is. Pretty pictures and, like, move on from that. Live your life. And the second thing is, you just have to realize that everybody has their own struggles. And the easiest and hardest time to do that is when you're angry with someone. Which I try to do when I'm upset, because I know I get in big funks and I can get really annoyed or really upset. And it just relieves a bit of tension to be like, what could be going on in their life? Like, they're not usually like this. Why are they being like this? Something must be wrong. And having that bit of empathy not only can make you feel better, but it can also de-escalate situations very easily. Just going and be like, hey, I know you got a lot going on. Like, I don't want this to add on top of it. I'm sorry.
It's another one of the ways when you just step up, huh?
Yeah. You gotta be the bigger person sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you do. Do you think that, like, stepping up and taking the high ground can help kind of create that sense of confidence and, like, a self-confidence?
I don't want to say definitely, because it does depend on the person. But I do think that there are times where I've just kind of had to be like, you know what, I'm just going to own up to this. We're going to move forward from it. I want to squash this. I'll step up. And you do walk away from those situations being a bit like, you know what, I feel good. Like, I feel mature, and I feel like I've grown, and giving yourself that little bit of, like, you have grown. Like, you are different than 12-year-old you. You can handle this like an adult.
Check the maturity box.
Yes, you're checking it off. You give yourself a little gold star, and it can help you. Just little boosts in your ego can help your confidence, you know? I don't want to say taking the high ground always boosts your ego, because sometimes it sucks, which I will be the first to admit. But it can.
Talking about taking the high road and how sometimes it's difficult, but also, you can also see growth, like you're saying, with that maturity, and, it's not exactly what the old you would do, but it's the choice you've made now, in the moment, and kind of embracing that opportunity. I'm kind of wondering, from a psychological perspective, if you will, if I can tap into that master's knowledge of yours, do you feel like that in every opportunity there is a way to allow for some growth, or a way to exercise confidence?
I mean, I think each person has a different way of digging in to confidence. I do get a lot of confidence talking with other people. Like, I kind of know that's something I'm good at. And so I feel very good in those situations. And I think if you find and reflect what that is for you, so maybe you're not good in social situations, and you know that won't help your confidence, but you're an amazing artist. Like, take 10 minutes to doodle out and, like, show a friend or post on Instagram or something where you can get a little bit of a boost. Whatever works for you. I think you can definitely find confidence and dig for confidence in your, like, core in any situation, but it does take time. It does take practice, and it does take a certain sense of self-awareness.
What about somebody that feels like they're not good at anything?
Everybody's good at something. I just don't believe that at all, like, even the people who are like, well, I can't draw and I can't play sports, but they're, like, great at math, or they're really good at language or reading. Like, there's stuff that you can do. Or if you feel like it's not a doing thing, there's stuff that you like and enjoy. So, like, I don't necessarily know if somebody who reads a lot can derive confidence from reading, but, like, maybe there is a favorite book that you have, or a favorite character, and you can go back and revisit and fall in love with that, like, again, and dig into what inspired you before, and tap into that, and get it now. So I don't think anybody's not good at anything. Like, you've made it this far being great at something. And if you don't think that, then just ask your mom or your grandma, because I'm sure they will shower you with thousands of things that they know you're great at.
Speaking of like moms and grandmas and stuff, do you think that having role models is important for building confidence?
Yeah, I do. I think if it's something personal, if it's somebody like a family member or even just a friend, like that's an easier connection because you can just go to that person and be like, hey, like, what would you do in this situation? And they can help inspire you. But it's just as important to have, like, maybe a fictional or a nonfiction, like, any kind of role model that you can derive from. Like, I love Harry Potter. I love the series. I love everything about it. I don't care what people say. I'm 23 years old and I'm still obsessed with Harry Potter. And there are times where, like, I kind of go back to the books and I look at a certain quote or I, like, just read a certain passage and I'm like, if Harry Potter was in this situation, this is how he would handle it. Like, I can do it too. I know it.
I love it. I do. I love it.
I think role models are important and they can be super big. Right. I mean, it depends on the level of expectation that you put into that person.
Okay, true.
So maybe if you're really having some confidence issues, find somebody that you really look up to. Go back to the things that you're drawn to. So why do you like Harry Potter? Like, why are you still obsessed with it to this day? And I can go back and be like, I just find it very inspirational. I love magic. Like, that's not very pertinent to confidence, but there are reasons why.
Confidence is magic, Raena.
Magic is confidence. But explore those reasons why. Like, why do I truly look up to this person? And those are the qualities, likely, that you want in yourself. And now you have a little list of things to, like, strive for.
Do you have a favorite Harry Potter quote?
We must try not to sink beneath our anguish, Harry, but battle on.
That's a great confidence quote, actually.
I always take out the Harry, but that's the legit quote for anybody that, like, wants to call me out on Twitter or something. But I always just say, try not to sink beneath your anguish, but battle on. Yeah, that's a big one. Dumbledore says it to Harry. So.
I love that. I'm such a quotes person. I have quotes written everywhere. I have quotes on my phone. I usually take quotes that I like, and I will make some of my, like, minute videos off of them for Instagram. That's where a lot of those come from. Like, those notions that I talk about, it's things that I've either read in books, or I see somebody else kind of talk about it on Instagram, or something that I kind of just hear in a conversation with someone else, or something that I say, and I'm like, I gotta remember that, you know?
I love that.
So, I love that. I love that you have this quote, and it's something that, yeah, like I said, it is definitely very relatable to confidence, because confidence is a journey, and I don't think there's ever an end point. I don't think you ever finish that growing and being as confident as you can be in yourself, because each day is new. Each day you encounter something new, and like you said, you're always changing. Your identity is always going to find a new place to kind of niche into.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just something really unique about the human race.
Yes.
That we get new opportunity every day. In life, in work, in relationship. And so being able to rise above the anguish? What is it?
Not sink beneath the anguish.
But to battle.
Battle on.
Battle on. I love the word battle, so that's probably why I like that quote.
Yeah.
No, but I do think that's a great quote. I think it does pertain a great deal to confidence. Because it's a lifelong battle.
Yes, it truly is.
And there's so much self-growth that plays into your own self-confidence. So I love it. Other than your Harry Potter quote, do you have any good one-stop personal tip on how somebody can exercise confidence daily?
A big thing is visualization. So a visualization of something plays a lot bigger role than most people realize. So if there's, like, a goal that you're trying to achieve, or a person you're trying to be like, honestly, print out that quote, print out that picture, and hang it up somewhere that you'll see it. I have a vision board in my room right now that I'm obsessed with, and I put it right next to my bed, so when I roll onto my left side, very specific, I see it, and I can look at all those different things and say, okay, yeah, like, this is one thing that I'm going to tackle, and that's something that I need to work on tomorrow. Just start with a visualization of what you're trying to do, and I promise, like, just seeing that every day really does help.
Did you create a new vision board for 2020? How often do you make a new vision board?
This one is about, oh gosh, it's probably like a month and a half old now. I kind of just go off of when most of my stuff is either like obsolete or I've completed it.
Right.
And even then, like, I don't really get rid of them. I hold on to them, and I just kind of create a new thing.
Make a scrapbook out of them, Leslie.
You know I scrap. Come on. I'm a scrapbooker. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a really big thing. And it just depends. Again, you know, we're always changing. Each day is different. Yeah. So maybe one day I'll hate that vision board, and that's when I know to start over.
Do you have a master's cap, gown, and hood on there for when you graduate this May?
No, I don't.
You gotta throw it on there.
I should, actually. That's coming up soon.
It is. We're very excited. Raena will be getting her master's degree in May.
The same day.
Yes, the same day that I will finally be getting my bachelor's degree. Very excited.
Different times, though. So sad.
Yeah, I know. Mine's the 9 a.m. ceremony and hers is 2 p.m.
Sucker.
Be there in spirit.
Get up early.
I know. Legit, when I saw it, I was like, I want to do my hair and makeup. I want to look nice. And now I have to, because the graduates have to be there like an hour before ceremony starts to line up or something. So I'm like, great, I have to wake up at like 6 in the morning. Of course, the last way that they spite me in my educational pursuits is get me out of bed at 6 a.m. I know. But it's worth it. It's going to be all worth it. I'm very excited. It's been a great long journey, and I wouldn't change anything about it.
I'm super proud. I'm very, very excited.
I'm very proud of you.
Oh, stop it.
I am. You have a lot of tenacity, and it's very inspiring, and thank you so much for coming back. I'm redoing your episode because I know that what you have shared is definitely going to resonate with more than one person, and it's just these little ripple effects that can change the whole tide.
Yes, and if anybody out there ever needs to talk to anyone, honestly, slide into my Instagram DMs because I love complimenting people. I will stalk you for like an hour and a half, and I will find legitimate things to compliment you on.
She will. She is the world's greatest hype woman. She is fantastic, and she will make you feel your best on your worst days. So, yes, we will definitely put all of Raena's socials in her description, so that way you can get in touch with her if you need to. Ask her all your psychology questions.
Yes. If anyone needs a sports psychologist, hit me up.
Yes, and ask her about ways to continue to boost your confidence because she is ultimate. So, Raena, thank you so much again for being on. It was such a pleasure to just have this time with you and to have you here.
I'm honestly so glad that you invited me back. I can't wait for the next time, which will be a completely different topic and not just a
I know.
a redo.
Next time she'll be getting her doctorate and she'll probably be married and pregnant or something. This woman's just going to do it all.
I'll have 50 dogs. So
yes. 50 corgis. And she'll be living in London probably. I hope this is just a prediction. I hope the next time I interview her is in a couple years and I'm like, hey, I'm in London.
Yeah.
Interviewing Raena. So
I can't wait. You can come over.
Yes.
Tea and biscuits.
Across the pond.
Across the pond.
My British accent's so bad. I will put you out of your misery, my friends, and I will wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening to Exercise Confidence. Okay, friends, there we have it, our full interview with Raena Ramirez. Raena is so inspiring, and I just know for a fact that one of the listeners out there got something so pertinent and meaningful out of this interview. Like we've said, you can follow Raena on the socials that are tagged in the description below. She's got a bright future and a great journey ahead of her, and we can't wait to see where life takes her. Tune in next week as we have another exciting guest. And I can guarantee you, each guest, though they can share some similarities, all have something different to offer in anecdotes of advice about confidence. We hope you tune in to the next episode of Exercise Confidence. Until then, I am Raena Ramirez signing off, and I hope that you can find a way to exercise confidence every day.